One of the hardest issues any leader faces, but especially founders, is how do I maintain the entrepreneurial spirit of a company as I scale and begin to introduce more bureaucracy? One of the people that has navigated this best is the CEO of Flipkart, Kalyan, and we're delighted to have him here to talk about this topic. How do you keep a sense of entrepreneurship in a company which, by its very success, is inevitably becoming large and bureaucratic?
I think the biggest challenge for me and what I want to keep pushing in the teams, in the company here is, even as the company gets bigger, processes take over, systems take over, which is important, which is necessary. But how do we make sure we don't lose that agility and the founder's mindset? There is a couple of things in that. First of all, picking the right team. In any organization, there will be spikes of talent, but it's important to make sure that the average itself is extremely good. We don't want commoditized managers who just look at data analysis and make decisions. It has to be married with customer intuition. People should be looked at as personalities, not just a bundle of skills. Over time, you will realize that there are certain leaders and certain functional people in the company who are able to connect 7 different dots and say, I think we are missing some kind of a new generational competitor who's not showing up in your tracking. You will see that 2 years later if you are just relying on data, but people with that kind of intuition will be able to figure that out pretty quickly, that something is going on. The other thing I have learned over the years is choosing leaders and deploying them differently when there is a crisis versus when there is a calm time. So I think that's also a very important aspect in our industry. Every now and then we are faced with aggression, we are faced with different types of crisis, and the type of leaders who work during a crisis can be different than the type of leaders who work during calm times.
Has anything had to change during the Flipkart journey where you felt you had to intervene and almost the past was the enemy and you had to become something different?
Jimmy, in our industry, we go through a turnaround every 4 to 5 years. And for some reason, if you don't need a turnaround, you should pretend you need a turnaround. You need to rethink who the customer is, what is the value proposition, what are the next generation of technology trends. Everything that got this business to this level, every 4 to 5 years, you need to completely rethink. At least 1 out of 3 teams in the company at any point of time is going through a turnaround. It could be for opportunities or it could be to handle a crisis.
And you consciously do that.
I consciously do that. The company now consciously does that. That's the way, I don't want to call it a template, but that's the way we operate now. And I personally believe it's necessary in this industry. And I'm the one in many cases who kind of provoke them to go through that process, start them off, put the right structure in there, ask the right questions, resource them well.
What's fascinating, Kalyan, about that is an awful lot of CEOs that view themselves as founder entrepreneurs find it more and more difficult to stay at their company because they feel the company is a company managed more for calm than for turnaround. And you've actually chosen, I will personally be the agent provocateur for those in turnaround, which is 1/3 to 1/4 of the company at any one moment. And if that's your role, if you are constantly in turnaround mode, how the hell do you keep your energy up?
I think it's just the DNA, Jimmy. I'm in a once-in-a-generational opportunity to transform this country, this industry. That's where I really get the energy and drive from, Jimmy.